A look at all the new models that were announced for 2021 promises that this will be a very interesting year for those of us looking for a new monitor. Thankfully though, we did not have to wait long to see the first ones, as Gigabyte decided to get an early start and show us what they've been working on. We got to test the Aorus FI27Q-X, a new gaming monitor which belongs to a new generation and brings some nice improvements, as well as a combination of specs that we have not seen before, and which is very much what modern gamers are looking for at the moment. A QHD resolution with 240Hz refresh rate, super speed IPS panel, support for HDR and both variable refresh rate standards are features which promise a lot, but let's see how good this Aorus monitor actually is. First of all, we should mention that it comes in a huge box that made us think it was 43 inches at least, before we saw the model number. Actual panel size is 27 inches, which in my opinion is an ideal size for gaming in most cases. Visually, the monitor is a lot like the last year's KD25F, so it seems that Gigabyte has found a design which makes the Aorus series of monitors very recognizable and leaves a good visual impression. The base of the stand is again very thin, V-shaped and made of metal, while the rest of the stand is visually quite interesting with the backlit logo and handle on top so you can easily move it or carry the monitor. Backlit details are also present on the sides of the stand, as well as on the back of the panel, from the middle towards the top left and right corners. Backlit parts are behind the piano black glossy plastic, while the rest of the monitor is covered in a usual textured matte plastic in grey and black, with a vent grille along the top of the panel. All this looks quite effective and modern, but not over the top. The backlight can also be disabled altogether or set to a certain shade from a gamut of about 16.7 million colors, plus you can choose one-off lighting effects and also synchronize it with other Gigabyte components using RGB Fusion 2.0. The panel frame is quite thin, with a grey bezel along the bottom edge, on which there's an Aorus logo in visually distinct frame. Overall, the monitor looks really good, but Gigabyte made sure it was equally practical, so beside the carrying handle, the stand also allows you to tilt the panel from -5 to 20 degrees, swivel it left and right by 20 degrees, pivot by 90 degrees, and adjust the height within 13 cm range. Speaking of practical, in the middle of the bottom of the panel there's a mini joystick for controlling the menu and shortcuts, which is quite handy, plus you can also use the OSD Sidekick software, which allows you to easily change any setting or option, from those related to image to some extra features. Among those, there are various gaming features like those for displaying the current refresh rate, timer, counter or a crosshair of your choice, plus a dashboard which will show you detailed data about your CPU, GPU or mouse in the corner of the screen. Also, this monitor supports an exclusive Aorus ANC 2.0 feature, which is an active noise reduction used when you connect your headphones and microphone directly to the monitor. Another cool thing is that the monitor has an integrated headphone amp, which can handle even the 600 ohm studio or audiophile headphones. Of course, the software also lets you remap the shortcuts or bind most often used options to the keyboard shortcut. As for the connections it offers, beside the headphone and mic ports, there's also a USB 3.0 for connecting to the PC, two USB 3.0 ports for connecting peripherals, as well as two HDMI 2.0 and one DisplayPort 1.4 for connecting image sources. The monitor also supports picture-in-picture and picture-by-picture display if, for instance, you ever wish to watch TV from your set-top box in a small window while gaming. Aorus FI27Q-X comes with a super speed IPS panel, the kind we have previously seen on another Gigabyte monitor we've tested, but in this case it is significantly better in pretty much every aspect. It is a 27-inch panel with a resolution of 2560 by 1440 pixels and a refresh rate of 240 Hz, which is a rare example of such a high refresh rate on a display with a resolution higher than Full HD. Also, this resolution is practically ideal for this panel's size, so the display quality is very good. Particularly impressive is the panel response time, which is rated at 1 millisecond and realistically can reach about 2 milliseconds, which is really good, especially since the monitor is able to achieve it without any backlight strobing, so the response time is great even when you're using the variable refresh rate, which most gamers would use anyway. Besides that, this is perhaps the monitor with the most well-tuned overdrive we've seen so far, which is almost ideal both on balance and speed setting, with almost perfectly clean display of moving objects with no overshoot and near imperceptible glow sting only on dark background. Kudos to Gigabyte for this, since playing fast FPS games on this monitor is a real pleasure, even more so since the input lag is pretty low with only 9.2 milliseconds. FI27Q-X does support backlight strobing in the form of aim stabilizer feature, which lowers the response time to about an actual 1 millisecond, but introduces a very noticeable and unnecessary overshoot, so it's better to use the monitor with this option disabled and use the variable refresh rate instead, which is more useful anyway. Since the monitor is both AMD FreeSync Premium and NVIDIA G-Sync compatible certified, it will work equally well with any graphics card, though we certainly recommend pairing it with one that is strong enough to achieve a fairly high frame rate so you can make the most out of what it has to offer. As for the image quality, this panel offers 10-bit display per color channel, which it achieves with the use of FRC and is able to cover 91.3% of DCI-P3 and close to 100% of Adobe RGB gamut, according to our measurements. The monitor is also HDR400 certified, and the maximum measured brightness in HDR mode was 485 nits, which is high enough to make a difference between the display in SDR and HDR, especially since the HDR tone mapping was done quite well, so for instance Cyberpunk 2077 looks really good in HDR. Color accuracy is not particularly high in any of the predefined modes, which we did not even expect in those tailored for specific game genres, but did in sRGB mode, which is the one with the best factory calibration, with merely a decent delta E deviation of 4.3. Subjectively, the best looking image is in standard mode, which is only somewhat less accurate than sRGB, so it was our mode of choice for playing games and everyday use. As for the contrast, it is about on a level we expect from an IPS panel, 1062:1, with a black level of 0.3 nits, which is also about standard for IPS and which visually may be its biggest flaw. IPS glow is noticeable, especially along the bottom edge of the screen, although it was less pronounced than on previously tested Superspeed IPS monitor. Also, unlike that monitor, this one had no problematic pixels, so it's clear that beside the already higher panel quality, much more attention is paid to the Aorus models in terms of quality control. Overall, Aorus FI27Q-X is truly a great gaming monitor, with a practically perfect combination of resolution and refresh rate for current generation of GPUs and games, plus a basic but well-implemented HDR just so you're not missing out, really good response time, and FreeSync and G-Sync support. With this model, those looking for a good gaming monitor will have a very few boxes left unchecked off their ideal list. The expected price for this model is around €700, but we should note that there are also a few other variations of FI27Q with different suffix, which come with a lower refresh rate and which may be even a better option for those with a slightly less powerful GPU, allowing them to save some money. Gigabyte is certainly getting better and better with its Aorus line of monitors, so we're looking forward to seeing what else they've got for us this year. That would be all for this review, but we invite you to share your thoughts on this monitor with us in the comment section. We hope you enjoyed this video enough to give us a thumbs up, and maybe consider subscribing to our channel for more interesting reviews. You were watching Bench House, my name is Ivan, and I'll see you next time.